Good evening, Corona Days Professional Development Group. It's me, Danette Edwards. I'm sorry, a couple minutes late, but we're here. All right. So I'm here this evening with Saundra Alexis Heath, and I'm going to give you guys a couple moments to jump on in here and for me to check to make sure we're actually streaming live on LinkedIn. So thank you all for joining. As you join the live, please just say hello and let us know where you're joining us from, please. All right. Hi. Thank you for joining. I'm going to bring Ms. Heath on the screen in a moment. So let me just go ahead and check and make sure we're live on LinkedIn, guys, and then I'm going to go. If you're joining us on LinkedIn, please let us know that you're here. Tell us where you are joining from. I'm really super excited this evening to host Mrs. Heath. She has an amazing story she's going to share with us, and we're going to be getting started shortly. So if you're in here, come on, let me know you're here. Drop where you're logging in from. We are getting ready to begin in a moment. In a moment, I always appreciate you for supporting CDPD, and I'm looking forward to this evening's presentation. So, all right, you guys know who I am. I'm Danette Edwards. I think we are live on LinkedIn. Just checking it out. Hey guys, thank you for joining. I am getting ready to add Ms. Heath to the broadcast. One moment here. So I'm going to do that now. Let me just go ahead and give you a little intro before I bring her on. So this evening, Saundra Alexis Heath is going to share with us what's in your hands. Again, guys, this is our Professionals of Excellence series where we're highlighting Black, Latinx, disabled, Asian, Pacific Islander, veterans, diverse ethnicities, making it easier for corporations to find and engage with diverse talent, whether it be an employee or whether it be a business owner, right? All right, so this evening, Saundra's going to talk to us about life transitions because, everyone has them. She's going to talk about the choices that we have. You can either lay down and stay down, or we can rise. She's going to share how everyone has access to tools that can be used to climb up. To climb up higher, no matter how high or low they feel right now. She's going to share with us the value of haters and critics. We all have haters and critics. She's going to talk to us about how we should not fall back from fear, but instead go forward towards fear. Now, number 6 is Big Wigs Ask, and I'm very curious about this one because I don't know what that is. So a little about Saundra. So Saundra Alexis Heath is the President of Heath Group and the Director of Heath Gallery. She spent 25 plus years creating results for Fortune 500 companies and a nonprofit as a senior leader in brand management, advertising, public relations, and experiential events and fundraising. She's a strategist, a coach, a course creator, and published in the Creativity Workbook for Coaches, edited by Eric Maisel and published by Rutledge. All right, guys. So I'm going to go ahead and bring Saundra up to the screen. Hey, Saundra, how are you?
It is wonderful to be here.
All right. Now, hi from New York City. Thank you for joining. Okay. So, Saundra, I am going to pull up. You sent it to me?
Yes.
Okay, I'm gonna pull up your presentation, but as we do that, I'm gonna tell you I have, hello? Okay, thought I lost you. I have some questions. I have a quick 5 quick questions to ask you, okay? These are fun questions, guys. You know how this goes. So I ask these fun questions to everyone who comes on the Professionals of Excellence series. And what happens here is I'm going to give you the question. I'm just going to ask you, is it this or that? So I might say red or blue, and you have to select one.
Sure.
Okay. You have to select one. And for one question, you can select both. But the key is, the hint is, I'm asking you 5 now, and then I'll ask you 2 after you present. Okay?
Fair enough.
All right. Okay. So Apple or Apple Mac or PC?
Apple Mac. All the way.
Vanilla or chocolate?
Vanilla. Ice
Vanilla. Okay. The Met in New York City, the Metro, the Met, you know, or MoMA.
Oh, MoMA.
MoMA. Okay. Oil or watercolors?
Watercolors.
Watercolor. Okay. Now this is going to be interesting. Paris or Ghana?
Ghana.
Ghana. Okay. All right. All right. So, guys, remember why I'm asking these questions. I'm asking these questions because we're going to have a couple of giveaways throughout the series. So, I hope you took heed and you wrote those questions, the answers down, because you will be quizzed on them if you want to be a part of the giveaways. Okay, so I am gonna go ahead and share screen with you guys right now. Let me get back into the studio, and I'm gonna share Ms. Heath's presentation, Mrs. Heath's presentation. All right, so window. Of course, I don't have it downloaded. Oh gosh, give me a moment. Here it is. Yeah, window, no, that's not there. Guys, you know how it is with me. I have everything but what I need up, and I have a bunch of stuff open. So I'm closing windows so that I can pull up this presentation. All right, so let me cancel that for a moment. I have so many windows up. So open this. All right, and go back here. And hopefully this will do what I want to do. Okay, so we're going to share screen. And then you guys know how I do. I'll be removing myself as soon as I share screen. All right, so let's see if this is it. Do you see it, Saundra?
Yes, I do.
All right, so I'm going to have to maneuver that. I'm going to put you and remove myself.
Now, will I be able to, am I controlling the screen? Okay. So I think okay. So the net, I am not sure, but I think that, let me just see. It's not. Okay, I am not seeing where I am able to move forward. There are a lot of slides, but they really, really go really quickly. It's like one word on each slide. And I'm not seeing where I'm in control of.
Saundra, you're not going to be in control of it because I'm sharing it. So I just I'll have to toggle through for you.
Okay. And is this, I'm only seeing part of the screen. I'm only seeing part of the presentation.
I am not sure why it's not all coming up. Let me figure out. Let me open it another way. Okay. So, guys, I know I'm appreciating you in advance because we are definitely having tech issues today. All right. So, let me close everything and open it again. Guys, thank you. I appreciate you. I appreciate you. I appreciate you. Now, let me see where this is. All right, so it is. Let's do this. All right, so this should be it, hopefully. Yeah, this should be it right now. Thank you for your patience. I appreciate you. So let's share. And I can't get that side off.
Okay, no
problem. I don't know why. So we're just going to have to go with it
We're
like it
going to
is.
roll with it. Yeah, let's just
Okay.
jump right in. Thank you, everyone, for your patience. And of course, this presentation is all about what's in your hands. And, you know, that's just commitment to us taking a look at what it is that we have to work with. All the things that Danette talked about, I will be kind of walking through my story and my journey to bring those points forward. But again, I'm a president of the Heath Group. It's a marketing consulting firm in New York City. I'm also co-founder and director of a New York City art gallery, the Heath Gallery in New York, course creator, creativity coach. I have a program called Show and Sell Your Art and a host of other things. But before we come to this presentation, I just want to share with you some core beliefs. And there are a lot of slides, but we'll be just going through them really quickly. But I think it's important that you know what my core beliefs are so that you know what my come from is. And our core beliefs are the things that really shape how we view the world. There are come from. And it's important to know, even before I go into our core beliefs, how we listen. Most of us listen on automatic pilot, and automatic pilot is just that. It's not even anything that we control. It's kind of an automatic way that we hear things. And so know that typically when somebody's sharing with us, we're not really hearing them initially as much as we are listening for what we already know. And then we're listening to judge, to evaluate and critique. And it kind of goes like this. Is this something I believe, or is it something that I want to believe? Is it something I've heard before? Is it something I already know? And it's hard to listen and really hear. And I should probably say, instead of listen, it's hard to actually hear someone when our mind is doing this automatic thing. And again, it's something that's automatic. To offer that, because I want to say to you, I think you'll get the most out of our time together tonight if you're listening for a new idea, listening for something fresh for you to consider. I always believe that there are no coincidences. I think that you are on this line tonight when I'm here because there's something in particular that is present. You're listening for a new idea. To listen for it, even if it is something that may be familiar. Just to kind of run through some of the core beliefs. Next slide. And again, these are foundational to how I am looking at the world, and like come from for the things that I'm going to share with you. Number one, a belief that you're a created being. That you're created for purposes. And I used to think that we were just kind of created for this one big significant purpose, but I've come to believe now that there are a number of different purposes which we may achieve or cross in our lifetime. And that, you know, sometimes people hear that word and it sounds like, maybe something that's like kind of like an obligation, like, do I really want to do this? But what I want to offer is that whatever purpose or purposes for which you've been created, I believe they will ultimately satisfy you. You'll get joy from them, contentment from them, even though at times they may be challenging, and that they will ultimately also be something that is bigger than just what your desires are. Meaning, you know, that part of the reason that you're here in the world is to be of service, for your life to be of service to someone other than you. I also, core belief is that you are inherently valuable and worthy. The minute that you are conceived, the minute that you were born, there's nothing that you have to add on or do anything special to be valuable and worthy. And I think that's a very important foundational thought, particularly for us or particularly for anybody who is a woman on the call. Trauma. We all experience trauma, suffering, difficulty. And that doesn't make you less worthy. That doesn't make you less valuable. It doesn't. It doesn't diminish who you are at all. And I think, did we skip something? Anyway, we also each have unique. Maybe I misnumbered something. But anyway, we each have unique gifts, skills, talents. Let's go to number 7. Maybe I missed. Yeah. Okay. We each have unique. We each have innate gifts and talents that make us unique, that distinguish us from the next person, even if that person has similar gifts and talents. And the whole idea here is that when we understand those things and begin to develop them, if we choose to develop them, that can set us up for a contribution more than we could have even hoped for or imagined. In combination with, we take those natural gifts that we've developed, we take and combine that with learned skills and knowledge acquired from our life experiences, and it allows us to have an explosive life, an extraordinary life, and make a truly impactful and powerful contribution to the world. Valuable life lessons, successes, and failures. Sometimes we think the only thing that's valuable is our successes. There's a tremendous amount of value that comes from failure. And lastly, if you are going through like something right now, and wondering what your next step is, and if you have come out of something that's even not so great, I'd just like to offer you to consider that sometimes we're directed to our purpose through rejection, failure, disappointment, and heartbreak. We may be on a particular path, and we may have collected all these skills and relationships and opportunities along this path, and think that that's the direction in which we're to be headed. And then something happens, and we're thrown off course. And it's like, what the? So I want to offer to you that sometimes happens because everything that we've learned is to be utilized, not for what we thought it was to be utilized. It's all still valuable and good and worthy, but we're really supposed to be here. And sometimes things happen that help us move in another direction, because ultimately we would just keep going along a track that may be a good track, but it's not the track. It's not the reason that we were called into the world for such a time as this. So I want to just jump into a little bit about our story, my story. And this is a little bit about how Heath Gallery and how we came to be. And, I can't talk about Heath Gallery and how we came to be without talking about my husband. In August of this year, we will have been married for 36 years. He's a country boy from Virginia. I'm a quasi-country girl from Missouri. We met in the village. At the time, he was working at a shoe store in the village, and he came to New York City from Newport News, Virginia, because he wanted to escape working in the shipyard, which is what, a lot of his peers did, would do when they graduated. I came to New York City to be a writer and an actress. I transferred from the University of Missouri and came to New York to go to NYU. Again, I was going to be a writer and an actress. That's what I thought. Graduated, went on a few auditions, then became concerned about keeping a roof over my head and began to take jobs. One job led to another job. I started working for an international charter airline, got to travel all around the world, but that only happened 2 months out of the year. The balance of the year, 10 months out of the year, I was on a furlough. We were actually a diversity class that was hired at the time to take Muslims to Hajj. And so we would go, we'd have our times of traveling throughout Europe, but we were really hired to take Muslims to Hajj. And so the majority of the year, we were unemployed, and I took on a temp job. So got married, landed in a studio apartment in Harlem. This is during the height of the crack epidemic, when most of the properties in our area were boarded up. People were fleeing Harlem, had been fleeing Harlem, and here we moved across the street from a park, 15 minutes from the airport, close to several train and bus lines. We thought all these things were great. While people were running, the folks that were here, it felt like kind of like the best kept secret that we were actually, there was actually a strong community vibe. My family, we knew that if anything happened to us, that people would know who we belonged to. And it was, we were excited to be here despite the things that didn't work, because we're creative people, and here we were in Harlem, the home of the Harlem Renaissance, and the place was cheap, $350 a month. But it also came along with being a place that was mouse infested. We had a shower, we had a clawfoot tub. It was so cold in the winter that when we talked, that smoke, you feel that, smoke in between us. And it was so hot in the summer that one night we actually slept upright on the steps after having first tried to just leave the apartment door open and the front door to outside open. It was that hot. And why didn't we have air conditioning? Because we were not wired for air conditioning. Now, our landlords were a 40-ish Black couple who we were just amazed by them. The wife was the first Black camera woman in the union here. The husband was a well-known photographer. Their names are Jesse and Leroy. And Leroy was famous for these the jet centerfolds, and so they owned our brownstone. They owned the one next to it. They had property downtown on Fifth Avenue. They also ran a coffee house. They drove a cab. They sold fruits and vegetables, even in front of our place. They did all this kind of stuff that seemed to us like, so creative, so artsy fartsy. And, to tell you the truth, we wanted to be like them. We thought they were quite interesting and very avant-garde. And I promise you, all of this is going somewhere. I want you to stop and just think about everything that I've said, who we were, who they were. And again, I just want to ask you, what is it that you have in your hands right now? Jessie started making films, independent films, but there was no place to show her films or that of other filmmakers after she had gone through, all this crap, to get in the union and hone her skills. And so they opened 20 West Theater in the basement of the brownstone that we were actually in. And so here it is, a residential property. It's a brownstone, but at the very bottom, and even beneath the street level, they created a full theater. And this theater looked just like any commercial theater. It was just, smaller. So you had the theater seats, and they popped popcorn. And the thing that cracked me up is that Jessie was a vegan, but she would fry chicken and boil those hot dogs, and people would buy them, and they became a mecca for Black independent filmmakers and those who enjoyed Black independent films and who just wanted a different experience here in Harlem. Wannabe. I want you to think about this word, wannabe. What does it mean to wannabe? At the time, our physical address was on 120th Street. But our emotional address was Wannabe Street. Wannabe Street, it's not a bad address, but just don't make it permanent. So we're living in this situation. By now, I'm not quite sure how long we've been there, but by now we are, is that timing right? I think I'm getting a little ahead of myself, but this, it was, nobody's trying to live for any length of time in a place that is mouse infested. Love you, Jesse and Leroy, but no. And so the city, because there are all these abandoned properties around, they decided to host an auction. You can go to the next slide. And we're thinking, we don't have anything. Like, who are we? But we had this vision. We wanted to be these folks who were significant and made a contribution and had something in Harlem. And so, just kind of casually, not even seriously, we mentioned to them about the auction and whether they thought we should bid, and they encouraged us to do so. And so off we went to the races. They helped us with the amount that, that we should bid. We submitted our bid, and we won. Little Saundra Alexis Heath from St. Louis, Missouri. Um, 3 cents, if that much, in the bank account. Thomas Heath from Newport News, Virginia, and we were now the owners of this brownstone in Harlem. That was the decrepit building that was still occupied by the former owners. And again, we had no money. My husband, he's great in a lot of things, but he can't hold a hammer. So he was not going to be the one to renovate this property. And it took us 15 years. Did you hear that? 15 long years from the time that we closed before we actually moved into the space and were able to occupy. 15 years. That's time to, have a baby, and that child is in high school. And we had a vision that we were going to raise our family in this place. And certainly over those years, I know that there were people who would ask me, how's the renovation of the property going? Because I think that they thought it was just all one big, lie. Because who does it take 15 years to renovate, or at least even be able to move into a property? We had things, happen. Of course, the problem is that we didn't know what the heck we were doing. We had never renovated a place. We, got a lot of not good advice. We went through a lot of unscrupulous contractors. We, lost a lot of money, and then we had to regroup. And I remember one day even coming home to see somebody walking down the street with our fireplace over their shoulders. And for a long time, we had tenants who were unwelcome human tenants that lived in the basement of the property. And we never knew when we went over there whether they were going to pop out. But we finally moved in. The day finally came. And I remember being so scared. You want something, it happens, and then you are afraid. What do I do now? And at the time, we had no vision to become a gallery. That wasn't even on our mind. But we also knew that the space was not ours. It wasn't just for us. But we know, we didn't have the details of that at the time. It was revealed to us as time went on. Now it's a little bit later. We have this huge mortgage. We've been through some things. Okay, we're in. I'm finally making 6 figures. That's helping with this mortgage. My husband has a good job, consistent, steady work, and I get laid off. I wanted to walk through all of that because we all have transitions. Everyone goes through transitions. Everyone goes through valleys and mountains. And you may not always see what people are going through. They may not always tell you. You may not always know. Sometimes we're looking over and thinking that we want to be like, or we want to have, or why aren't we? We can keep going. But the reality is, and I really want to focus on the third line here, we don't often know the true cost that somebody has paid for where they are, or if the cost that we want to pay or that we even can pay. We've been through several financial challenges over the year, all kinds of challenges, and I know that all of us have. But here's a question. Are we learning? Are we getting the fruit from the things that we've been through. We let me say, if I am ever, no matter if I have $1 zillion or if I have 5 cents in my pocket, the things that I have been through and how we've come over on the other side, I believe, are designed to ensure, to act as a catalyst for faith in the larger things, because I have gone through a lot of smaller things. And so I want to ask you, if you think about even what's in your hands right now, what are the experiences that you've been through that are a setup for something bigger that you are devaluing, that you are discounting, that you are not considering something significant that is to prepare you for the next thing, or for the big ask, or for the next ask. Right now, I'm sitting with a image that's on my wall of a piece of property in the neighborhood that would actually represent a full space, much more space than we have right now. And it's something that's, like $1 zillion. The place that we have right now, it's a beautiful space. It's on the ground floor of our townhome. It's awesome. But if it wasn't for the experiences that we've had, for the ability to thrive and prosper with this space, doing it our way through even some of the challenges, I wouldn't have the vision for this other space. So I just want to ask you again, what is it that you have in your hands that is the catalyst, the jump off point for what's next that you're not recognizing or valuing? We're all equipped for what's ahead, even when we don't know what's ahead. And I believe that we already have the seed for what's going to allow us to uniquely succeed and prosper, but often we don't recognize it. And I want to say, what if every cruddy, crappy experience you've been through, including even some that were terrible and vile, were equipping you for your next, even a next that you don't know right now? When my husband discovered he get pain, and remember, this was not when we first moved into the place, but and that's another story that I won't get into right now. But he went crazy because he was already over 40 years old. He had been held back in the 3rd grade. And I want you to hear this. Having been held back in the 3rd grade, he had a secret belief that I didn't know, and this goes back to one of our core beliefs, that caused him to think that he was going to be able to lead, like a good life, an average life. It wasn't going to be working at the shipyard, but it wasn't going to be an extraordinary life. It wasn't necessarily going to be the life of his dreams, because he hadn't connected to that thing that was special that only he was able to do. But when he connected with that, and it was like, "Boo, this is it. This is it. This is my life. This is what I'm called to do. This is what, it's my purpose." It was like fireworks went off, and fireworks going off in the hands of somebody who is making up for lost time. So he went crazy. He did all kinds of things to explore and express who he was as an artist. And I say that I say that with love, because we went through some fun times with him dressing crazy and wearing crazy hats and doing all kind of crazy stuff as part of expressing who he was as an artist. And he even painted the couch. So he got to the point where he was finally ready to show his work. And, like many of you, you have gifts and skills and talents and things that you studied. And, your opportunity comes and you're ready, or here is your break. And he told me that there was a gallery in Soho that had invited him to show them his work. Not to show, but they weren't offering an exhibit, but he could come down and show his work. And It's a big name gallery. We're so excited. So he was a U-Haul, took off from work. He was working on furniture at that time. We loaded this furniture on this truck that we had rented, and he's driving down, and we're whistling Dixie, or not Dixie. I know we weren't whistling Dixie, but we were whistling all the way down. And we arrived. I am in the passenger seat. He sees the gallerist outside. I didn't know who it was, but he was excited because they were already outside. And he gets out of the truck, goes over to have a conversation, and then he comes back to the truck. And I'm, thinking that he's coming back to the truck and he's getting ready to start opening the doors in the back and taking things out. And he got in the truck and began to pull off. And I'm looking at him like, what happened? He didn't say much, but he was embarrassed. Next slide. And he felt like a total fool. Next slide. I don't know if you've ever had that experience where something that was all set up, something you'd hoped for, planned for, it was, the perfect setup, it was supposed to happen, or something unexpected happens and you're left feeling exactly the way my husband did. And you have no explanation for what happened. It totally caught off guard, totally caught by surprise. At that time, I would ask you to examine, what is it that you have in your hands? What is it that you already have? What is it that's different even from what somebody else has that you have to work with? We decided after that moment, and a couple of other places where he reached out or knocked on doors and doors just weren't opening, that we were going to redefine what it meant to be a gallery. We had our own walls. In our minds, a gallery was a place where you could, or we decided that we were defining a gallery as simply a place where you had clear walls, could show your art and invite other people to come in. And that's what we did. So he hung his work initially. He initially hung his own work on our walls. Soon we began to invite other people in, and that's how Heath Gallery was launched. And we reached out to the community for support. We've been open since 2002. We've had numerous group and solo exhibitions. We've launched art careers, and not just in the visual arts, but in all facets of the arts. We have been the first place that some artists have shown or have performed. And that means a great deal to us. And here's the thing, based on who we are and based on what our experience has been, we're not highbrow, we're not exclusive. Our commitment is to be a warm and inviting place that provides a high quality experience. Again, we're a beautiful space, and we are a commercial gallery. We are not a nonprofit gallery. We're a commercial gallery, but we get to do it our way, and we get to do it in a way that works for us, and that also we believe serves the community that we want to serve and that we were called to serve. And this is something that we came to understand out of challenges. And if the space that we have now, if our original plans for this property, when we purchased this property, if we were able to go immediately into the renovation process and get everything done, the plans that we had at that time would not allow for what we were able to do now. And we certainly believe that what we're able to do now, what we have been doing, is part of the call on us individually and also on our family. It would have been great to raise our family here from little girls on up. Great idea. Would have loved to do that. But I believe that what we have been able to do that has come out of our experiences and our challenges is part of a purpose that serves a larger good, that serves more than just our family. For 4 consecutive years, really stopped pretty much by COVID, we had a signature event called Hang Night, in which artists could just show up with their work and they just hung it. And that, if you, you know, let me just say, that's a pretty big deal for artists to just have the freedom to be able to do that, not have to, cross any hurdles, and out of that be able to build community. Again, this has been the first time that a lot of artists have even identified, even said to themselves that they were an artist. It's the first time that artists were able to talk about their work, and where people from the community and even outside of our community were able to come in and engage in a conversation about art and feel like it's okay, and that and feel comfortable being able to ask questions about art. And it's also, quite honestly, been very rewarding to be recognized by our community for the work that we've done. And we had an experience in which they surprised us. And I will tell you, my husband and I felt like Obama and Michelle at the Kennedy Center when artists and folks in the community that we have shown their work and built community with them stood and talked about what it meant to be able to come into a place and show their work. And particularly for those who grew up in families where art was not something that you wanted, your kid to do. And so they had these gifts and talents that they weren't finding validation for. And I'm not taking away anything from their parents' vision for their life, but we were able to create a place where they felt seen and that they felt that they could express and explore who they really are and go on to continue in these creative paths. And if we didn't think art and creativity was important, just ask yourself, what would we have done during the height of the pandemic when we were all shut in if there was no access to any art, to any creativity? So you always have two choices. When my husband had the experience with the gallery, who he thought was going to be receptive, and all the others, he had two choices in how he was going to respond. In the third grade, we saw that he had a choice too about how he was going to respond to being held back. And so I want to say to you, no matter what your situation is, you always have two choices. You can lay down and let your dreams, your vision, your hopes, your plans die, go away in the face of rejection, in the face of failing. And if you take a risk, there's a good chance that you're going to fail. In the face of being embarrassed, in the face of getting good news, or you can rise up, try again, go a different way, recreate or reinvent. And this is a tough one, but I think it's important to say, even when there's a loss like a death. So many of us can look back at the last year and we may have run out of fingers to count the losses that are even in our own family, in our own community, and that surround us. But I want to say, with all grace and love and respect, that even in the physical passing of someone, there is something that can be redeemed from that can be offer value, that can continue the core belief that life, that every life has a great purpose and offers great value beyond just that person. This was reinforced to me. A dear friend lost his son last week to cancer, and he wasn't even 30 years old. And yet his legacy is going to continue to live in a scholarship that is being created in his name. And I know in just knowing his parents and the community that surrounds her, his legacy is going to continue in so many things that are going to be done in his name. And we won't know, until, we'll find out in eternity if you believe in eternity. but I believe that there may be even things beyond what we would have imagined that are being created and are being shifted and are being generated, even with this loss. And if we think about, the Black Lives Matter, and if we think about the the terrible things that happened last year, and yet how they opened doors and ignited conversations and ignited stands and ignited being able to ask for things and ignited being able to demand things and ignited being able to pull people out and ignited being able to to demand that people be removed, and seeing that happen again. I just want to offer that even in loss and even in death, there is something purposeful and enormous that can come from it. Values in haters and critics. If I wouldn't say necessarily that. I'm not going to necessarily call the people that didn't open the doors and the people that don't open doors for you or that don't say yes to you as haters and critics. But we know that we definitely sometimes have people who are haters and critics. And I think that there's a gift that they give us. Number one, they affirm, it says confirm, but I want to say they affirm that you are visible, that you're seen. They also, and that you're doing something that is is demanding attention. They also offer, and here's what I really, really want us to hear. They also offer an insight into another point of view that we may not have seen. They offer insight into something that may need to be addressed or that needs to be fixed. And rather than seeing haters and critics as people who just want to tear us down, whether that's their intention or not, what I'd like for you to consider is that what you're getting is feedback. There's a really successful publicist that I used to work with, and I watched her really, really rise. And one of the things that she would do is she was great at presenting ideas and proposals and selling them in. And one of the things that she would do is that she would, if she had an idea, she would quietly go from office to office, person to person, to find out what they didn't like about it, what they didn't think would work about it. And, people are quick to tell you those things. And if you were talking along those lines, she might even agree with you. And if it was something that if it was an idea that, you weren't aligned with, you may leave thinking that, hey, you have a partner in it. But what she was really doing is she was collecting all the information she needed to in her proposal or presentation, build a tight case for why something would work or could work by covering all the bases, covering, everything that anybody might have to say about why it couldn't or wouldn't work. And if she was doing that in a public meeting, she might even give you credit for helping her with, framing all the things that needed to be put into the project or proposal. So even if it was something that you still didn't think was a really good idea, if this big presentation is being made and you're being credited, with it being a good idea, that's not exactly the time to say, hey, that you think it stinks. And I watched over and over and over again her be very successful in getting her ideas sold in. And so I have always thought and continue to carry forward from that point, people letting you know, hey, this stings, trying to put it down, that's feedback that becomes a gift. Fear. There's a whole thinking, there's a thinking that I think doesn't often serve people, that and it's around passion sometimes, and that the things that we're supposed to do that should come easily for us, that we'll feel really passionate about them, that we'll feel really confident in doing them. But I also want to offer that there may be things that are part of your purpose that you're called to do that are frightening, that are bigger than you, and that if you succumb to fear, then you are losing out on the opportunity to catalyze your faith for something even bigger that may be coming your way in the future. So I encourage you, if you can go back to the slide for a minute, is to go forward. Don't fall back from fear. Again, fear may be a stimulus to catalyze faith that you'll need in the future. And coming to the end, big wigs ask. And if you think about, well, let me ask you, if you think about what it is that's in front of you, what it is that you'd like to do, how many people are you interested in serving? How many people are you interested in impacting? 1, 5, 10, 100, 10,000, a million, 9 million, a zillion, gabillion? Think about what that number is. And I would offer to you that people who are leaders of large organizations, of large movements, of large industries, of large companies, they've learned to ask. They have an expectation that they will be supported. And so they come to learn to ask for support. People who really do innovative things, who tend to stretch beyond their comfort level. If you go and you take a good look at their background and their path, and if you watch them, they're people who ask for support. They're people who ask questions. They ask a lot of questions. They aren't afraid of looking good. They'll ask a question that seems silly, or you should know. They will ask the same question over and over again in an effort to get different perspectives and to get information from different people. And whereas there are those of us who want to be safe, who want to look good, who want to look smart, who want to be in control, look like we're in control. And so we lose out by not making the ask. You'll find that people who have achieved things, they're not afraid of asking for the relationship, to asking to be introduced to the money. They're not afraid of asking for the money. They're not afraid of asking for opportunity. They ask, they ask, they ask, they ask, they ask. And there's a speaker and coach. Her name is Lucinda Cross, who's written a wonderful book called The Big Ask. And I think that there's, that's something that I would encourage folks to take a look at. And lastly, if you've been struggling to find meaning and purpose in your right opportunity, look at what brings you joy. If doors don't open, consider that it's perhaps just not your time. Perhaps you're to create your own door. Perhaps you're being guided in another direction. And then one quick thing that I want to tell you, and I'm going to go through this really, really quickly, Danette. When I was 12, my parents divorced. We moved. I suddenly, in 3 months, had a new mom, a new stepmom, and my dad was shipped off to Vietnam. And so now I'm in this new school, and I was okay with being in the new school because suddenly, I was around a lot of Black kids. Before it was, predominantly on the Air Force Base, predominantly white kids. And so I was real excited about, being around a lot of Black kids, except the deal was that I was different. I was not from the neighborhood. I didn't know all the terms. I dressed funny. I didn't know all the, I wasn't the cool kid. I was a real square. And so I was bullied while I was going through, this crap with my parents being divorced. And then one day the teacher announced that there was going to be this contest, and it's going to be a poem, contest, and then we got to share a poem. And I was so doggone excited because at my other school, I was really good at delivering poetry, and it was something that I was part of the competitive poetry team. And so I thought that this is going to be my chance to, do this poem and win over my friends. And I mean, win, my classmates over, and they would become my friends. And so I rehearsed this thing over and over and over and over at night, for a week or probably longer straight. And then came the day, and everybody else was, like anxious and didn't want to do it. And I was excited. And so my turn came, I got up, I did the poem, and just really, really doing the thing. And, I'm in it. And, when you're in your element and you're doing something, you think you're doing something good and you're feeling yourself and you're really doing it. And I was feeling that energy. And then I looked out into the audience to make sure that I was connecting and to make sure that they were feeling the same thing I was. And they were rolling on the floor laughing, not everybody was on the floor, but the boys were on the floor. And that day I became invisible. I remember looking over to the teacher, and he looked at me with such compassion and tried to calm the class down. But what it's like, kids in the 7th grade, and everybody's excited and something's been funny. And after that day, I spent every recess in the furthest corner of the playground, alone, reading books. Again, what is it that you have in your hand? And what I had in my hand, what I had access to, even at that age, was books. My mom was, doing her thing, navigating single motherhood, working nights. My dad was in Vietnam. I was on my own, and there was nobody that even checked. Nobody was concerned about that I was, over alone, and I interpreted that as no one cared. But I became an excellent study. Again, what's in your hands? Had quiet. I had nobody bothering me anymore. Again, I was invisible. And so I became an excellent study of people and learned, not from a book, but just from observation, how everybody really wants to be loved and accepted and fit in, and the degree that people will go to have that feeling. And so that was the 7th grade. That went on until, I went through the balance of the 7th grade. I went through the summer. I went through part of the 8th grade. And then suddenly, and I want you to hear this, suddenly, out of nowhere, and for no reason seemingly, a group of girls in the class just walked over to me and said, we'd like to be your friend. Can we be friends? I looked at them and said, okay. And just like that, as though none of the other stuff had happened, we became friends. And we're friends to this day. And I often wonder why I haven't asked them yet, what happened. But I'm saying that to say that when you're doing your work, when you're doing the best that you know how, when you're looking, to have an opportunity, create an opportunity, find an opportunity, it looks like nothing is happening. I want to just encourage you that you will have your one day, your suddenly. And I share that with you so that when that suddenly day comes, that you're ready for it. You're ready to walk into it. You can say yes. That experience and so many others, even prior to that, were traumatic and kind of like awakened this fear of rejection. And I bring that up because I think we all have this theme that's always like kind of lurking in the background, that if we allow it can, get in the way of us moving forward and fulfilling purpose. And I just, want you to stay conscious of that thing and stay conscious of when it's looking to block you and keep moving, not allow it to. The fruit, again, what is in my hand for that experience is a compassion, a knowing, a seeing that's really important, and I think a distinction in the way I work with artists, and also in empowerment work with women. There are things that are recognized that don't even have to be spoken, and it's almost like a heart-to-heart thing that comes from uh, insight from particular experiences. And what is it that you have like that? I believe I've been told that there is a certain wisdom that I have, but I know for sure that there's a certain emotional intelligence that I have, and that there's a sensitivity that comes out of some of the challenges. And so I want to ask you, what is it that comes out of yours? Because I believe that there's a gift that you can be using and leveraging now. Let's skip through this. We can skip this. So, you heard about a lot of things that I've done that we talked about up front, but I want you to also know that I've been a waitress, a receptionist, a cashier at the movies, a retail sales associate. I tried my hand even at modeling. I was a fitness instructor. I was a makeup artist. I was an administrative assistant at least twice. I was a department store manager for Macy's, an assistant buyer for Macy's. I went through their executive training program and became a department store manager and an assistant buyer in cosmetics, and then left and started working for an advertising agency and went on to become a leader in the agency, and then moved from advertising to public relations. I was a brand manager, and at one point even studied for ordained ministry, and have studied and credentialed as a life coach and a creativity coach. The reason that I share that is that not all of these experiences were good, but all of these experiences gave me something and gave me this huge plate of skills and experiences. And so I shared that because, even if you're stalled, even if you're maybe going left when you want to go right, there's value in all of those things. And the other thing that is important to recognize through all those experiences, the good ones and the bad ones, the common denominator is me. And the common denominator, even in the not so good experiences, is me. And why that's important? Let's keep going. Let's keep going. Let's go back to that slide. Before that one. Let's go back. Here's the point. If you find yourself repeatedly in places, or repeatedly with people, or repeatedly in a situation that's not working, the common denominator is you. And I encourage that there are parts of you that only the creator knows about. There are parts of you that only you and the creator know about. There are parts of you that you, the creator, and your intimate friends know about. There are parts of you that you, your creator, intimate friends, the whole world knows about. But there are parts of you that everybody can see except you. And this is where I encourage each of us to always be in a place of being open to receiving feedback. Sometimes, particularly now, and I know that we are often in situations that are set up not to serve us, that can be wired, where there's indoctrination to make sure that we don't have an opportunity, but not all the time. And I just want to make sure, encourage that we're always in an examination of like what's happening with us, what's happening with part of an experience that we can control. And so the big elephant in the room is this. What is it, given where you are, who you are, where you want to go, the direction life is leading, what is it that you have in your hands that you may not be looking at, that you may not be acknowledging, that may be, untapped? What is a resource that you have? And that resource, it could be relationships, it could be a specific knowledge, it could be something specific in your background, it could be a skill set, it could be something that people always celebrate you for, but you're not paying a lot of attention to. It could be an asset, a tangible, a home, a car, who knows? But I just, particularly these days, right now, I encourage you to take a look at what it is that you already have in your hands. What do you have in your hands that can help you go to the next level, that can help you start your own thing that you are not looking at right now? That is my offering today. I thank you for your patience. I thank you for listening. And I believe that this is the time where if there are any questions.
All right, so I don't have any questions from the audience. Thank you, Saundra. Thank you. A lot of great information and tools. So I really appreciate you. I have 2 more fun questions, and then I have my questions. So, all right, guys. And if you have any questions, guys, drop them in the chat as I am asking my questions right after this. So, fun questions. Harlem or Brooklyn?
Harlem.
Coffee or tea?
Your laugh makes me nervous.
No, I knew it was going to be Harlem. I want them to be not too, and really just to gauge if my audience is here with us. Coffee or tea?
Coffee.
All right, cool. So, guys, you have those. If you catch it on a replay, jot those answers down so that when I put these giveaways out, you can possibly win some. All right, great. So, Saundra, I have my questions. I'm not going to ask my marginalization questions because you gave us a couple of examples of that already in your chat. But I am going to ask you my other 2 questions. And so this is my favorite question. If you could go back in time to a younger, Saundra, and tell her anything, whether it's encouragement, advice, whatever, what would you tell a younger Saundra?
I would tell her not to worry. I would tell her not to worry. Everything's going to be okay.
I love it. Good stuff. All right. And here's my final question. So my final question is, considering everything you shared this evening, if a viewer, whether, someone now on the replay has one takeaway, what would you want that to be?
That they are likely an underutilized asset to the world, and to not allow themselves to live here without being fully poured out to the degree that there are opportunities that are within their control to.
All right, I love it. Wow. And we've come to an end. I have comments. I don't have any questions. So I am going to thank you again, Saundra. I really appreciate you for coming on to our Professionals of Excellence series and sharing your story. I want to visit your gallery as soon as, things are safe. I'm actually going to be in New York next week for about a week. Not next week, first week in May. Yeah, my grandma is having a surgery. So I'm coming up on the 3rd, and I'll be up there So like the 14th or 15th. It's a minor surgery, but she's 92, so nothing's minor when you're 92. So I'll just be there to support her. Hopefully the weather will be nice May weather.
We have an opening on the 8th.
Oh, maybe I will come then. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe I will come. All right. I will send me some information about it. Yeah. All right. So again, Saundra, thank you. So yeah, actually I can get up. I can take a bunch of pictures and post them. You allow people to take pictures in the gallery? All right. Okay. Perfect. All right, CDPD crew, thank you for joining. Thank you for being patient with us with our tech issues. I'm going to say thank you all for joining us, and God bless you, and good night. Yeah, Rhonda, you'll have to catch the replay. All right.
Thank you.